Mm. What's up, everybody? So I'm here on my podcast on Friday night. I don't know. I just feel like everything is changing so much, and I don't know. It's just is weird. I think that as the ascension happens, and as I don't know, it just feels like everything is like changing, and everything is so different lately. But I guess that's what we can talk about tonight too, because it's just about everything just changing. Hi, Jenny. How's everything going? I miss you guys. So, anyways, I want to talk a little bit about like also some crazy shit that's happened throughout going through this transformation and going through, I don't know, I feel like awakening really. And coming more into my gift as maybe a psychic medium. Moon would like to say hi too. I think my gift as being a psychic medium has brought me to places that are like up and down and sideways and good. I'm glad you guys are good. I don't know, it's just like being a psychic medium and going through the transformation and going through, I don't know, the awakening process like that, because each of us have our own gift, right? Whether or not it's one of the seven clairs or bringing people together or whatever your gift is, mine happens to be that I see spirit, I see energy, I see a lot of things, right? Society says I can't see, but these glasses are just to magnify everything because I can see everything. So, I think that as everything changes and everything gets more clear for everybody, right? Because now we just had the super full moon, right? We just had the huge full moon that was like a moon on steroids, right? So it was really about bringing probably triggers to yourself that I feel like it brought triggers and it showed light where things needed to be shown, right? So maybe in the last week you are being triggered on things that you need to release, maybe things that you thought you healed from, but maybe you didn't. Or maybe you thought you were healing from, but maybe you need to put more work into it, like that. So I just feel like with the eclipse season that's now approached too, going into the change of seasons, going really changing everything. And I've talked about this for a really long time about, going through the transformation and that it's painful and it's hard, but it's worth it. And when you start to release energy and people, places, and things that no longer serve you, what it does is it welcomes in a higher vibration and it welcomes in people, places, and things that are at that higher vibration that are going to serve you more, I feel like. So, anyways, all this stuff has been happening for everybody in the last, I would feel like 3 months specifically, but really intensely in the last couple of weeks. So you've probably noticed changes happening for you, maybe changes in your relationship, changes in your jobs, changing in maybe what you desire or thought you were going to be or what you were going to do, because the moon is like, hey, let's pay attention to what you really desire and what you really want to do in this life because it's possible. And I want to talk a little bit about that too, about what is possible, and I feel like I heard a quote that says, I'm no longer having dreams, it's like turning my dreams into goals, and I can't agree with that more. I feel like it's important to take what you dream about and make it into your reality. And how you do that is by small, reachable goals, right? You're not going to hit what you dream about overnight. It's going to take time and space. So, the more that you heal and the more that you work on yourself, the sooner that you can reach these goals and turn your dreams into a reality. And I feel like for me, it's happening. And as it happens, it's like, holy shit, like you really can manifest what you want in this life. And when you work on your healing on the inside, it starts to show on the outside. And, you start to go through a transformation, not only on the inside, but on the outside too. And I know for myself that I look way different than I did 3 months ago, than I did a year ago, because I've put the work in. And when you put the work into yourself, you really start to have clarity and understand exactly what you want in this life so that you can, live your dream life. So anybody can do it. It's just putting the work into it and releasing what no longer serves you, because as being in our human bodies, I think sometimes we want to repeat cycles and we want to do what's comfortable. And sometimes getting to those opportunities of making our dreams a reality, we have to do what is uncomfortable, and we have to take chances, and we have to think outside of the box. And I think a lot of times we as humans don't want to take chances, and we don't want to think outside of the box or do things that are outside of the norm. Yeah, so I think once you start to find that confidence within yourself to take chances, you start to create opportunities. So I don't know. I just feel like the moon has really shined the light on that for me specifically, to take chances and to go after what my dreams, my goals are. And yeah, so I hope that you guys do that as well, because it's something that gets you to where you want to be and to a higher vibration. Because if you just think, oh, I want to do this, or I want to be here, or I want to do this, and you don't put into action, you don't make things move for you, you're not going to be able to reach those goals or make your dreams into a reality. So it's important to know what you want and then set little reachable goals so that you can start achieving and living the life that you want to live. Okay, that's it for that. So let's talk about what I was gonna really talk about tonight, which is like all the creepy shit, right? Because I talked about being, right, clairvoyant, right? I can see everything. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some creepy stuff, because we're going into, well, Libra season, which is my favorite because I'm a Libra. So yeah. And I just think that going into October and the fall and the spooky season, I think it's a good time to talk about, some real spooky shit that's happened to me. And maybe that's happened to you as well. I would love to hear your stories too about the unknown. And as we were talking about taking chances and, kind of leaping into the unknown, it comes with experiences too, and stuff that we can't explain. Because I know that I'm not the only one that goes through life every day and has things that happen. And I'm like, what the fuck? Or like, I can't, explain it, right? Like that. Jenny says, I love the spooky shit. Me too. I know. That's crazy, right? So I want to talk a little bit about when I first started, and I talk about this a lot, I think, because it scared the shit out of me. But like when I first started to acknowledge that I could see spirit, or to acknowledge that I could see energy, I started seeing things that were like scary. Like I started seeing like shadow figures, and I would see like, this is gonna sound crazy, but like I would see these like big shadow men crawling across the floor. And this was in Queechee, Vermont. Like I started really honing in like on my visions and what I was seeing when I lived in Queechee, Vermont. I don't know why or how. It was when I got home from living in Jamaica, and a lot of shit had happened in Jamaica too. And when I got back, it was the first time that I was like on my own. It was the first time that I was raising a daughter on my own. And that was what, 13 years ago or something. And I remember taking that chance of uh, opportunity to start something new. And it was another transformation in my life. And it was the first time that I took a chance that I couldn't see. It was the unknown. And as soon as I did that, it was insane. It was like in that apartment in Queechee, it was in Mill Run. It was like, I don't know, it was like there was so much activity in that apartment that I couldn't deny it. Like I slept with all the lights on every night. It was just like I was seeing these shadow figures of these men like on the floor, and they were crawling, which I guess now looking back at it, it could represent army or military, because um I know that in Queechee a long time ago, there were a lot of battles that were happening. There was a lot of military coming down from Canada and taking over. uh, the land of Vermont and running out the natives. And there was a lot of blood battles and shit that went down all through Vermont. And it was like I moved to Vermont after I came back, and it was like the start of seeing everything, the start of acknowledging spirit and acknowledging that there's things that out there that other people can't see that maybe I can tune into, that were in my group. So going to Vermont, it was wild. And it for me, my visions and seeing spirit really started in Vermont. And I remember seeing like these guys like crawling on the ground. And like I said, there was a huge blood battle in uh Queechee, West Hartford, into Sharon, Vermont. And we go to this hidden waterfall too in the summer sometimes. We used to go, Jade and I used to go out there like, I would say like 3 or 4 times a week. And we went out to this hidden waterfall in Sharon, Vermont. And we would go out there, and even Jade would hear drums. We would hear drumming, we would hear chanting. Sometimes we would see like these shadow figures with like mohawks. I wish I knew exactly what natives were in Vermont and were involved in those battles, but I don't know the exact. But I remember just like being kind of really spooked out about being in the land at dusk. And it goes right through the railroad, goes right through it. And, also in Vermont, in the same area, was the biggest train collision. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago too, and how you can drive by the bridge, the train bridge, and sometimes you can hear screaming, and sometimes you can hear yelling. And that train collision happened in the dead of winter, so there was not a lot of water in the White River, and what was on the White River was frozen. So when that train fell off of the bridge initially, it was hanging, but still, some of those cars fell into the water, which really wasn't that deep. And so sometimes people have been, I've never heard it myself. I've only heard like the screaming. I know when I first started living out there, it was like Jeff says the Abenaki people lived in Sharon, Vermont, and surrounding area, including Sharon Flats. Yeah, so it's which would make sense. We have Abenaki in my bloodline, so yeah. So that whole strip right out there that goes from like White River Junction, uh, really, I think you can go right up to Montpelier on that back road. And I just feel like every time I go out there or I'm on those back roads, it's like it's just so active. Like no matter what time of the day, no matter where, it's so active through there. And then with the train tracks too, not only did the biggest train collision happen right there, I think I'm going to do a tour of that bridge specifically through Starship. So if you don't follow the Starship page on Facebook, you should definitely do that, to look for the events. But when you go out there, it's like there also were two kids, two young boys, not that long ago, that were also hearing screams and things at nighttime on the track right there. And they went up there to investigate. And I think that those boys both were hit by the train. And I think both of the boys passed away, but I don't think that happened that long ago. I think that that might have happened in maybe the 90s, even. So there's a lot of tragedy around that one little part of bridge right there in White River. So yeah, it's really sad. They went up there, they were young and they went up there to investigate because obviously they were hearing something. I think that they lived really close by. And I think that they were also hearing things and seeing things, because there's been also reports of lights or flickering of lights down by the bridge too. So, like, I can understand that if you're a young kid, I mean, I'm not that young and I'm still interested in it, going up to see what you could check out or whatever. But yeah, so that did happen right there in White River. So yeah, that's pretty spooky. And then I lived up the road a little bit and I lived in the ticketing house or the general store that was in use for a really long time. And again, I would see a lot of stuff in there too. And um, there's also almost like a ghost train that goes through as well, because you would hear it coming through and you would feel the house shake because the house was so close to the railroad itself. Um, it's like it was so close. I would say maybe even 30 or like 30 feet probably. And what would happen is, like, sometimes you would just hear the train come through and you would expect to see a light or you would expect to see something happen and you just wouldn't. You would just hear it barrel through and nothing there. So it was like you would wait to see the light because you could see the light coming from the house and you would never see the light. It's like the train that never came. So that was kind of crazy as well. So there's a lot of history in Vermont. And also, I would go to Sumner Falls too. And I used to do my ghost tours there as well because Sumner's Falls has a lot of activity as well. And it's specifically this young kid who passed away while working, and pretty much his dad just came down and got his check and that was it. Like, they didn't take his body back, nothing. So there's this one grave at Sumner's Fall that is just this young boy who was there working, trying to make a living for his family. And it's like, hey, greetings from the Netherlands. Hi. So, yeah, you go to Vermont and it's like there's crazy activity there. And you go to Sumner's Falls and it was all loggers. So they were logging down there. And what they would do is they would cut the logs down and then use the river and bring the logs down because it was easier to float the logs down than it was to carry the logs by horse, because back then it was like it was like hard to do because there was not a lot of resources. So there was a lot of drownings through there. And when we would go as a group, we would see bright lights that would like float like this or hover above the water where they would bring the logs down. You can also, at Sumner Falls in Vermont, you can also see where they would have fires. I know that we would be on one side of the river and adjacent to the other side, which you would only be able to get there if you went through the woods by parking at Sumner's Falls. So we would know that we were the only ones there. And we would go at night, and people don't really go to Sumner's Falls at night because it's freaky. So we would go down there and you could literally see fire coming up, and we would be like, hi, and you would hear drums or you would hear like it's wild. So if you live in Vermont, you should definitely check out Sumner's Falls. Also at Sumner's Falls, this is crazy too. So when you pull into Sumner's Falls, right, it's an old logging road because they were loggers. So you go down into Sumner's Falls, and it's a really long, like, dark road. There's no lights. It's tall, tall trees and a dirt road. So you go down the road at Sumner's Falls, and it's like it's really dark and it's really scary. So when you get out of your car, um, I have seen multiple really tall, big men walking down the road towards us. Um, Yeah, it gets wild at Sumner's Falls. And they were all big loggers. So like they're big logging men. And there's this one specific guy who will like spirit, of course. And I'm not the only one who has seen him. So I know that he can manifest himself into a pretty solid figure. And he stands kind of at the beginning of the road at Sumner's Falls. It's pretty wild. So he stands like at the front of the road, almost like a guardian. Um, so that is a pretty cool spot. There's also a lady in white, but I feel like I feel like for me, there's always a lady in white. So it's just getting down to like, why is there a lady in white? I do see her having long, dark hair. I'm not sure the story about her, but I know that we've gone across the river. So Sumner's Falls is here, and then Two Bridges is on the other side. And we've gone down to Two Bridges and caught a lady on camera yelling for help. So I don't know the exact story or the myths behind it, but I can only imagine what happened in those camps because those loggers did set up camps back then. So not sure what would happen there, but that's pretty wild. One night, so that's Vermont pretty is pretty haunted. So one night, Jade and I have a shop in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and I go up there every Tuesday, and I drive from Connecticut to New Hampshire and then back to Connecticut. And one night, we were coming back really late at night. And I think it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. And we were coming through Enfield, Connecticut. And there were no cars on the road at all. And Jade and I were just having like a conversation. And am I from America? Yeah. So I'm originally from New Hampshire, but I do live in Connecticut now. But we were coming back from New Hampshire, driving through Enfield, Connecticut, and we're going through, and there's not a soul outside. There's not a soul outside. There's not a car on the road, nothing. And we're driving down the road, and all of a sudden, there's a man on the side of the road. I have no idea where he came from. I have no idea. And Jade goes, Did you just see that man appear? And I was like, Yes, I saw the man appear. And this gives me the chills, like for real. Like, it just gives me the chills. So this man appears out of fucking nowhere, literally out of nowhere, appears on the side of the road. This man proceeds to turn around, stare at my car, and then point at me. Oh, it gives me chills so bad. And I wish I had like, I don't know, taken a picture like, or I don't know, like, I don't know, something. But he turned and he pointed at me, and Jade was like, what is he doing? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I was like, what? Like drove so fast by him. And I remember turning and looking at his face, and he had like really dark eyes. And I was like, what the hell? So like I just drove by and nothing ever happened, but like that experience like stays with me, and it stays with her too, because I was talking to her a little bit about what kind of experiences we've had together, and what happens to us on a daily basis. And she, for real, yeah, she's the one who was like, do you remember that guy? And I was like, yeah. Like I try to forget it because it was just so odd. It was just so weird. But yeah, so that happened. um, what else? There's just so much. I feel like anytime I drive by a cemetery, I always see people running across the road. I don't know if anybody else has the gift of being able to see spirit, but I see anytime I go to anywhere and I drive by a graveyard or anything like that, I'm always seeing spirit like run across the road. They're like, boom, boom, boom. And it's always like a full black figure for me. And it's like, I always see them. They're just like, boom, boom, boom. I don't know if anybody else sees that too, but that happens. Um, I don't know. I just feel like energy is everywhere. And I also feel like there's no I also feel like there's no veil anymore. I just feel like we're as you ascend, I feel like it's kind of all becoming equal and one. It's just like we're all walking amongst each other's right now, and it's creating harmony and bliss and magic. And it's almost like the things that I thought were crazy or weird, um, are not so crazy and weird anymore. Oh, another thing that happened when I lived in Vermont, we lived across the street from the West Hartford Bridge. So anybody that's listening that's local will know what the West Hartford Bridge is. And unfortunately, a lot of people have drowned in that one spot. And when I was living there was a little girl who actually drowned across the street from the house. We were down the road in the river when it happened, but she passed away right under the bridge, and we happened to be up the road closer to where the waterfall is. But we could hear the sirens and things, and we just assumed that it was people being drunk or whatever because it was 4th of July. And in Vermont, a lot of people go to the river and drink. Just what happens. So we just assumed that it was somebody at the river or whatever. And before I could find out that it was a little girl, um, I had seen a little girl over by the river on the bridge because I could see the bridge out of my kitchen window. And I remember being like yelling to Jade and being like, why is there a little girl on the bridge by herself? I was like, seriously, like, oh my God, there's a little girl on the bridge. And so we actually went outside. This is so sad. We actually went outside and walked to the end of the road. Because I was like, "Oh my God, there's a little baby out there. Like she's gonna fall off the bridge and end up in the water." And we went out there, and there was no little girl there. And a couple days later, Um, I saw some balloons and like a little cross and stuff like on the stop sign. And so I walked over, and it was a little girl, and I was like, it was like a little girl that had drowned on the 4th of July. And it was so sad. And I saw her on the bridge. And I was like, oh my God, we have to go get this little girl. Like I really thought it was a little girl. And she had passed away that day. So or that close to that day. So that was really sad. Um the river itself is like the what is Starship Temperance LLC? Let's answer that. Oh, Starship Temperance LLC. That's my business. I am a working psychic medium. I'm also a Reiki master. I teach and I do readings, and I do this podcast to kind of spread the knowledge and wisdom that I have learned through my journey and through my healing experiences and through my travels. And yeah, so that's why I do the podcast, is just to spread knowledge and wisdom. But Starship Temperance LLC is my business. You can book your appointments there. You can join my retreats there. I'm also a retreat host. I have a retreat in Jamaica and in Puerto Rico. So yeah, and I see dead people. So and animals too. And that brings me to another, aspect that is kind of unique too, is that I see animals, and so does my daughter. So my daughter also has the same gift as I do. However, she sees things more in, she sees more, she sees more in historical time and more in like a movie where I feel like I see spirit in this time and space. Um, I do more channeling, I think, than she does. She can just see um, what the history was and what was in that space and time. Like we live in a hospital that was made into apartments. And when she's in the hallway, she can actually see this hospital as a working hospital with people coming in and out and things that are working. Now, when I come into this hospital, I see a very tall man with a top hat who happens to be the man who donated the money to originally build this hospital, which I think was like built a couple hundred years ago. I don't think, I think it was like a couple hundred years ago. And the guy's name was Mr. Johnson. And I feel like I see him a lot. Where Jade sees more of like, um, Uh, I think giving birth is one of the most painful things in the world. But yeah, um, so she's like, she can also see in like moving history like that. So it's really unique, because when we go to places, we compare like what we're seeing and what we're feeling. Like we went to that smallpox grave a couple months ago in Connecticut, and there was one grave there. And immediately we both go down to this girl's grave who passed away when she was 17 of smallpox. Immediately, I'm feeling somebody else buried there. I'm feeling more people buried there. And then Jade's like, Mom, there's more people here. She's like, I see more people here. So it's kind of nice that we can have the same gift, but see it and feel it in a different way. Because it's like we can almost put it together like a puzzle and create the message or vision of what they're trying to show us, right? Where yeah, it's just neat. It's just a unique thing to have a gift to be able to see energy, and have a daughter that can also see energy. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, but we do have a lot of unique experiences, and I think that we have experiences every single day, no matter where we go, no matter what we're doing. I know for me, I don't have like smell a lot. I don't have, sometimes I'll smell like cigarette smoke or cigar smoke, or sometimes I'll smell like alcohol, but I don't really have the gift of being able to smell things. Um, or I feel like I'm starting to come into the gift of being able to hear things, because I'm a little bit terrified if I can hear somebody talking to me and I can't see them. I feel like as I go through my healing journey more, I'm also accepting more of the gifts. And that's for everybody. We all have sixth sense, we all have intuition. And the more that we can tune into our first initial thoughts, the more that we can start to live this life that's kind of paved already for us. Recognizing, it's just recognizing um, the signs and symbols that are bringing us to where we need to be. And, it's really about taking chances. And the more that you take chances and listen to your intuition, which is your first thought, right? Anything else is your ego, right? So you say, oh, I need to go right or I need to go left. And you hear in your mind, go right, but you're like, I'm going to go left. Well, your first thought is your intuition, is your first thought to say, go right. You need to do that. Or you're just going to take the long way. Of course, the end result is always the same, but it's whether or not you're going to trust yourself to bring you to where you need to be in a timely manner, or are you going to take the long way to learn all the hard lessons first? It's up to you, and it's okay which way you go. It's just about listening to your intuition and taking chances and taking the opportunities that are put in front of you, because the more that you take the opportunities and the more that you take chances, the more that you're going to create opportunity of where you want to be, and where you're going to go. So life is not easy. Um, but when you listen to your intuition and you trust yourself and you can love yourself really to the fullest, you're going to keep ascending and you're going to keep going to a higher vibration, and you're going to keep attracting things that are meant for you. And when things fall off, it's just because they were not meant for you. And the more that you resist those things, the harder your life is going to be. The more apt to making change and taking chance in your life, you're going to create opportunity that is going to help you and bring you to the life that you want to live. So, if I've learned anything through this eclipse season that just started like 2 days ago, is that the universe is always going to support you. No matter if you think the universe is God, or with inside of you, or angels, or your spirit guides, whichever you believe in, just know that they have your back. And when you take chances, they are going to support you. And the universe will never give you something and then take it away from you. It's up to you to maintain what your dreams and your aspirations are, and to make them tangible, because nobody's going to do it for you. I love angels too. Nobody's going to do it for you. It's you that has to put the confidence within yourself to take those steps to where you want to be, and what you want to do. And I think that as we go through this extreme transformation as a whole, world, really, you're going to start to see and feel what feels right to you. And my advice is to go for it, is to take it, because we're only here for such a short amount of time, and we're here to learn lessons and to gain experiences, and then to share, and to share love, and to share knowledge and wisdom. And the more that you can do that, the faster that you're going to raise, and the faster that you're going to really be able to make what you want in this life tangible. As long as you can give that love to yourself first, that's what matters, right? When you start to see your growth is when you have opportunity to have a chance to react or to not react. And that's when you're going to see your growth. You're going to see the change in really how you are as a person as a whole. Jeff says, how do you find out who your guardian angel is? I think that for your guardian angels, I know for me specifically, I talk to spirit guides. I've never really channeled angels, I don't think. But I could. I guess we could start with you, Jeff. Let's see. Do a session, explain, connect with your spirit guides. Yeah, it's um spirit guides for me. When I connect to spirit guides specifically, it's like I see spirit from all the way white light to all the way black light and all the grays in between. And for me, it's all signs and symbols. And I feel like the spirit guides that I connect with are your loved ones, the ones that you need to hear from specifically. Like maybe you didn't have a great relationship with your mom in this life, but then she's coming through as your spirit guide. Because remember, when we leave our physical body, we leave all of our worry, fear, shame, and guilt. In like jealousy, all that kind of bullshit ego stuff, we leave in the physical body. So we no longer have all of those things. And sometimes our spirit guides are, people that we knew in this life that we didn't have a great connection with. And so I think for me, when I connect with your spirit guides, it's people that are their spirit, that are there for you now, guiding you and showing you where you need to be, because we have multiple spirit guides that play different roles. So when you do know who your spirit guides are and what roles they play in your life, again, you can look for those signs and symbols that they are bringing to you to know, okay, I need to do this or I need to do that, right? Um, let's see. Oh, sure, no problem. So yeah, I just feel like it's important to definitely know who your guides are, or your angels, or who is guiding you, so that you can talk to them. Because don't forget also that we have animals too that are guiding us, that are helping us, that are there for us in this life and beyond. So I mean, it gets deeper than that. Even there's other beings that are also here to help us. There's just so much energy that is around us that is guiding us. And I think that once you can start to see and recognize what your signs and symbols are and who they belong to, it makes it easier to ask for things, right? To ask for things, to be open to receiving as well. I think a lot of times that's part of it is that we say, oh, we want to get to this, this, and this, but we forget that we have to be open to receiving. And a lot of times as caregivers or, doing work at such a high level of energy that we forget to give back to ourselves or we forget to be open to receiving abundance or love as well. So I think that when you can work on healing your heart space, you can work on forgiving your trauma, you can work on figuring out what your gift is as an individual, and then really emphasizing on that and then turning around and teaching people and helping other people understand maybe what you're learning or what you're going through. The only way is up, and when you're going up, you're not going to have any other choice but to be open to receiving love and abundance and what you're trying to do in this life. So it's it's pretty magical, this life is actually. It's just recognizing the magic that this life has to offer, the dark side, the light side, the up, the down, and just applying it to your life and understanding that we are here for such a short amount of time that you must live your life to the fullest and do what makes you happy. As long as you're doing everything with pure intention, the universe has your back and will reward you in the hard work that you put in. So if you're working on yourself and working on your self love, again, there's no way but up. So I love you guys so much. And you can join in every Friday night. I try to go through like what I've gone through during that week because I know I'm not alone. And I know that this moon has been really hard and exhausting. If you felt really, really tired in the last couple of days, even today, listen to your body, allow yourself to rest. Because if you're not resting, you're not healing. And if you're not healing, you're not going to a higher vibration. So I love you guys so much. And I hope that you guys had a good night. And I hope that you guys have a great weekend. You'll be able to find me this weekend in Maine. I will be at a show. And then I think on Thursday, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. On Tuesday, I will be at the shop in Lebanon. So if you haven't booked your in-person appointments, definitely do that. I will be out of town for a couple of weeks. I'm taking my birthday off this year. It was a goal that I set for myself a long time ago. So I'll be doing that and exploring maybe what my next journey is in this life. Make sure that you check out Parapost Network, give them a like and follow. Also, JK Paranormal, check him out and like him and follow him. And as well as Starship Temperance too. Yes, thank you. I always do enjoy my life. And I do love life. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.